Oh, Tennessee, you're the only 10 I see. The volunteer state, named that because of the War of 1812, when many volunteer fighters joined General Andrew Jackson in a fight of the South to top the British. But really, it is named that because of the people of this state and their willingness to volunteer for not only their brothers and sisters around them, but also for this nation's freedom. Tennessee is the birthplace of country music, has beautiful scenery with the Great Smoky Mountains, and all the woods and lakes that inhabit this great state. The traditions in this state just make Tennessee one of the most magical places on earth. The cities of Memphis and Nashville are nationally known and respected for their universities. Memphis and Vanderbilt are two great schools which have rich tradition in athletics, especially basketball and baseball. Memphis Tiger basketball is the hottest name in the sport thanks to the return of Penny Hardaway. And Vanderbilt baseball just won the College World Series and are on top of their sport. But today, we are not talking about these schools, and we are definitely not talking about these sports. We are talking about football. And when you think of Tennessee football, you don't think about the Titans. People think about the Tennessee Volunteers. Down in Knoxville, Tennessee, there stands a university of great traditions. The University of Tennessee sits in the heart of Knoxville and is the lifeline of the city. When you think about Knoxville, you think about UT. The campus sits on the Tennessee River, and this place truly is a paradise. But right in front of that river is the home of the football program, Neyland Stadium. And right now, the team that plays there has officially hit rock bottom. After starting off the season losing to Georgia State and BYU, the Volunteers are searching for answers. And for today's video, we're going to take a deep dive into this program and what has happened. Because it's easy to forget how great this program used to be, so let's take a deep dive into the rise and fall of the Volunteer football program. You know, it wasn't always like this. Tennessee was at the top of college football back in the day, and they were the team of the South. It all starts back with who the stadium is named after, Coach Robert Neyland. Neyland was a general in the Army, a football player, and a coach. He holds the record for the most wins in the program, in which he won 173 out of 216 games. He had 6 undefeated seasons, 9 undefeated regular seasons, 7 conference titles, and 4 national championships. This man went on a 7-year stretch where the program had only 2 losses and spent his entire coaching career at Tennessee. My favorite fact is the 1939 team was the last college football team to go the entire regular season unscored upon, but they did lose to USC in the postseason 14-0. Even from 1938 through 1939, teams scored an average of 1.4 points per game versus the Volunteers. He coached 216 games, and the Volunteers shut out their opponents 109 times. Like literally 50% of the games he coached, they shut out their opponent. He even had undefeated streaks of 33, 28, 23, 19, and 14 games. General Neyland also went up against the great Bear Bryant 7 times, and Neyland won 5 of these and tied twice. So he never lost to Bear Bryant, and Bryant said once Neyland taught him everything he knows. Neyland is a legend. He left coaching Tennessee twice to go overseas to serve the country in the war. He was promoted to general so quick, he got demoted and then promoted again. If you thought Bear Bryant is the champion of the South, you haven't heard about General Neyland, and that's a respectable thing to say about both men. Did I mention he was a boxing champion at West Point as well? Neyland brought the program to national attention. After the Neyland era ended in 1952, because of his health, he became the school's athletic director. After his tenure ended at the school, they had 40 years of football that was all over the place. First was the Harvey Robinson tenure that lasted 2 seasons, and the Bowden Wyatt tenure that had a great year in 1956, but that's all he wrote for 8 seasons. Then we have Doug Dickey, who won the national championship for the school in 1967, and the program was doing great under him in the late 60s. But Dickey left for Florida, and the Bill Battle era took over, and it started off really well, but it got worse every season, and after 1976, he was replaced by Johnny Majors. He started out slow for the Vols, but Tennessee started playing great during the 80s. Majors really had great success and won bowl games and conference titles in the late 80s and early 90s. But his tenure fell because Majors suffered heart problems and he had to take a leave of absence. So offensive coordinator Philip Fulmer had to take over as interim coach and beat Georgia and Florida, but when Majors returned, the team started losing and administration decided to make a change. Fulmer was promoted to head coach and Majors was forced to resign because his contract was bought out. This split Vols Nation, and this was tough because Majors brought them back onto the map, but the team played really well under Fulmer. Fulmer joined the program in 1980 and served 13 seasons as an assistant and was a great offensive line coach. His first season, they went 10-2, and it was a great start. But the 1994 season was the start of the Peyton Manning era. He was the 3rd string coming in, but took over because of injuries and the team's rough start. The next 3 seasons, Tennessee went 11-1, 10-2, and 11-2, with Manning leading the team. But ironically enough, when Manning finished his career for the Volunteers and went to the NFL, the team hit the promised land. The 1998 team was led by T. Martin, who had been Peyton's backup for the previous 2 seasons. They started out quick with a win over number 17 Syracuse led by Donovan McNabb, and then they beat number 2 Florida in overtime. The team rolled on this season, beating number 7 Georgia, number 10 Arkansas, before beating Mississippi State in the SEC Championship. And then in the Fiesta Bowl versus number 2 Florida State, the 2 best teams in the nation battled out for the title. And oddly enough, these are the 2 most dysfunctional elite programs in college football currently. But Tennessee beat FSU to win the national title, and the Vols were on top of the world. That senior class only lost 5 games and won 45 in their career, and Fulmer won SEC and National Coach of the Year. But after that title, Tennessee was just a good team in college football. They lost their offensive coordinator David Cutcliffe to Ole Miss, who would be their head coach, and the Vols had some great seasons in 2001, 2003, 2004, and 2007. But there were losing seasons in 2005 and 2008. They even brought back Cutcliffe, and they had a great season in 2007, but then he left for Duke, and the next season would be Fulmer's last. The athletic department had to come up with $6 million to buy out Fulmer, and after that things are about to fall apart, and I mean fast. Athletic director Mike Hamilton made the move to get rid of Fulmer, which was not really the mistake. The mistake was the replacement. Guys Hamilton looked past and decided not to hire are current Notre Dame head coach Brian Kelly, current Washington State head coach Mike Leach, and my personal favorite, current TCU head coach Gary Patterson. And he was passed up on because, wait till you hear this, he was too much of a football coach. Gary Patterson is a program builder and has built a great program at TCU, and he could have won at Tennessee. So the program decided to hire former NFL head coach of the Raiders, Lane Kiffin, who was young, flashy, and fun. In 2009, Tennessee went 7-6, which was an improvement from the previous year, but Kiffin left Tennessee right after the season to become the head coach at USC, and this was right in the middle of recruiting season, and that's that for his time there. He left Tennessee with sanctions, a bunch of players with problems that tore up the program. It was hard to find a replacement because of the NCAA issues, and not many people wanted the job. But if it wasn't already bad now, this is where it all begins. The next hire is a doozy, and everyone in Tennessee agrees on this. On January 15th of 2010, Tennessee hired Louisiana Tech head coach Derek Dooley, son of former legendary Georgia head coach Vince Dooley. Now Dooley spent 3 seasons as the head coach, and all of them were at Tech, and he had 1 winning season, which was 8-5, and he went 4-8 before being hired at Tennessee. When he got there, that was 3 coaches in 3 seasons, and scholarship players were leaving, and things were getting messy. Now, who did Tennessee pass up on to hire Dooley? Well, they passed on David Cutcliffe, who would return as head coach, but he was at Duke, because he wanted to bring his offensive coaching staff from Duke to Tennessee, so they passed up on him. Are you kidding me? They passed up on him because he wanted to bring his coaching staff, who probably do all the coaching and focus on the X's and O's, more than even Cutcliffe would? They also tried to get Utah's head coach Kyle Whittingham and Houston's Kevin Sumlin, but they couldn't get them to come, or they passed on him, so they decided to hire Dooley. But really, this blame should mostly be on the athletic director. Mike Hamilton created a mess as the athletic director with poor leadership and bad financial decisions. Hamilton had a messy situation in all of their athletics, especially their men's basketball program. Then for football, it all stems with the coaches he's hired. In Dooley's 3 seasons at Tennessee, the Volunteers went 6-7, and then 5-7 the next 2 years. Recruiting was really bad, because they were getting out-recruited in their state and the surrounding areas, and they didn't sign a single offensive lineman in 2012. Hamilton resigned as athletic director on June 7th of 2011, and Dooley was fired in November of 2012. The next AD was Dave Hart, and he had a lot to change when he got there. When they fired Dooley, the name floating around was Mike Gundy, the head coach at Oklahoma State. Even Gundy himself thought he was going to Tennessee, but they never offered him a contract, and the job went to Cincinnati's head coach Butch Jones. Jones had won at Central Michigan, and he had a 10-win season at Cincinnati. Jones was hired in December of 2012, and when Butch got there, it felt like he had an obvious ceiling. Yes, he could get Tennessee winning, but it just felt like they were never going to get to that national championship level fans want. The Butch Jones tenure lasted from 2013 through 2017 for 5 seasons. Now, depending on how you look at it, he had 2 9-win seasons with a bowl win in both seasons, but he also had a 4 and 5-win season with a lot of disappointment. He went 34-27 overall and 14-24 in the SEC, which is not good for a team with their resources and how bad their division is. His first season, the Vols went 5-7, but he had a lot of cleaning up to do because of the mess he inherited. He did a great job recruiting though, because the 2014 and 2015 recruiting class were ranked 7th and 4th respectively. It's just the team never lived up to the success he recruited, and it always felt like the coaching staff just didn't know how to coach them or put the right talent on the field. 2015, the team played really well, and they should have beaten a lot of great teams. They should have, or very well could have, beaten Oklahoma, Florida, and Arkansas, and lost to Alabama in a bad loss in Tuscaloosa, but after that they won 6 straight and dominated Northwestern in the Outback Bowl, and it seemed like just maybe Tennessee and Butch Jones might be able to get this thing back on top. But where it drove fans crazy was entering the 2016 season. They had so much momentum and were ready for a top 10 finish because they were in the preseason top 10 poll. The season started off crazy when they almost lost to Appalachian State on the opener, then they beat Virginia Tech out at NASCAR Stadium, while going on to beat Ohio, number 19 Florida, and number 25 Georgia in a miracle finish, where Tennessee won on a game-winning Hail Mary, and Butch Jones sent a prayer after that. But then they lost to Texas A&M in College Station, then to Alabama at home, and finally at South Carolina. It's really frustrating because they could have made the Sugar Bowl if they beat Vanderbilt, but nope. They couldn't even do that. This was a gut punch because they should have had a better year and got lucky a bunch, and despite winning their bowl game, this year was a disappointment because they couldn't protect their lead. And then 2017 was another huge disappointment because they finished 1-7 in their final 8 games, and Butch Jones was fired. Now, the Butch Jones era was a lack of development from him and his coaching staff. They kept making the same old mistakes every year, like how they managed the clock, playing too conservative, and the fact he never developed as a coach just caused them to not live up to expectations. It was so frustrating because he was getting 5-star players, but they were playing like 2 stars. And if that happens, well shoot, all you have are 2 stars. And that's not going to win you games in the SEC. He was surrounded by coaches that didn't help him grow. But after all of that, it still gets worse. You remember Philip Fulmer? Well, he was brought back as athletic director in December of 2017. He replaced John Currie, who was suspended after just 8 months as AD. Supposedly, Fulmer tried to undermine Currie in hopes to become the new AD, and I've heard that story before. Currie was trying to find a replacement for Butch, and he had found his guy in Ohio State's Greg Schiano. But after public backlash regarding the report, Currie backed off and the deal fell through. After firing Jones, they tried to get Dan Mullen, but he went to Florida, and they went on another ride with Cutcliffe, but he decided to stay at Duke. Then Tennessee wanted to look at Oklahoma State's Mike Gundy again, after not hiring him before, Purdue's Jeff Brom, North Carolina State head coach Dave Doran, but they failed on all those guys, and then Currie went rogue and did his own thing. He tried to hire Washington State's Mike Leach, but they didn't work out a deal because the university officials wanted him to leave and return home, and when he did, he was fired, and now we have Fulmer. Just imagine the QB and offensive guru at Tennessee. Leach is a legend, and it's a shame he's not at UT. He would have fixed their offense, and I don't care what you think about Mike, this guy knows offense. So after all of that, Currie was let go, and Fulmer had to finish the job. Fulmer looked at his former quarterback T. Martin to possibly come, but the coaching search ended with Fulmer hiring Alabama defensive coordinator Jeremy Pruitt to come in and coach the Volunteers. You know, Pruitt is a good defensive coach. He recruited well and coached the Florida State defense to the title in 2013. He then replaced Kirby Smart at Alabama as their defensive coordinator, and he had them as a top 2 defense both years. So when Tennessee hired him, I was thinking, man, this could have been so much worse. I kind of like the hire. But just because you can coach defense does not mean you can manage an entire football program. Being a head coach is being the CEO. You have to do so much more than coaching. You have to worry about recruiting, work with the president and the AD, deal with boosters, all 3 sides of the ball, managing the entire roster and your coaches. And it just seems like Pruitt is just a really good defensive coach who doesn't have what it takes to be the CEO of a team. His first season as head coach, Tennessee did beat Auburn and number 12 Kentucky, but that's about all they did. And now this season, well, we all know what's happened. They got outplayed by Georgia State at home, then they blew their lead versus BYU and lost in overtime. Now a lot of blame is going on their quarterback and Coach Pruitt. You know, it sucks because Tennessee was one of the most prominent programs in college football. And they have one of the best and most loyal fan bases in college football who always shows up. I mean, even after the loss to Georgia State, Neyland Stadium was still packed and rocking with support. They have amazing facilities, a storied tradition, and yet it's still a mess. Their athletic director has a history, whether you like it or not, of taking people's jobs from them. And shoot, it might happen again if Pruitt doesn't start winning. They're going to have to ride this out, and I think that's the best idea. There are always going to be optimists, and then there's going to be people who are pissed off, and it's really hard not to side with either of them. I always think these things take time, and it always isn't a simple solution to fixing a football program who plays in the SEC. It's just going to take better player development. Honestly, it starts with the boosters and the athletic directors who created this mess. When you pass on guys like Gary Patterson and Mike Leach who have built winning programs at TCU and Washington State, and can coach not only their respective side of the ball, but hire great assistants who can make up for the other, you are never going to win. Pruitt was supposed to come in and change everything, and I really believed he would. His track record says so. I don't know anything about him personally, obviously, and everything I say is taken from that viewpoint, but this is unacceptable. We've hit the point of no return, and this is it. We're about to figure out what this team is about going in the SEC play. And God, I completely forgot they brought back Jim Chaney, who was the offensive coordinator at Georgia, and not even that is working. They even brought back T. Martin to be an associate head coach, and that's not working. Like, this should be the year to see progress. They have their offensive mind, obviously their defensive coach, and even T. Martin. Tennessee has two options, and this is where we're going to split. Bring back Fulmer or hire somebody else, or keep Pruitt. The buyout is a huge preventer, but it helps having the next possible coach in your payroll. And if you don't agree, I'm sorry with this take, but they just need to keep working out and not blow it up. The team just needs to ignore everybody off the field and working on fixing things internally. Pruitt has a good staff who has experience, and I'm still very optimistic, so I have faith. Tune out literally every single piece of media there is. Make sure all your coaches are aligned and start working on making sure this team is ready. No more scare tactics. No more BS. You have to keep your team in check, and that's why you're getting paid the big money, Pruitt. Even their future recruiting class is trying to keep things together, and that is an incredible sign because that shows their character, and how they handle hard times, so things will get better if you get these players there. The worst thing you can do is give up. The second you do that, it's only going to get worse. There's just so much that goes into a team. Everyone has opinions on how things should be run. Everyone wants a share of the pie. Everyone wants to feel valued. So if the players don't give up, then things could get better. Some fans are staying confident. Others are trying to burn it all down. Listen, I understand the frustration, but these players are kids, and they play in an isolated town where everything runs through the football team. If toxins leak, then everything is going to be tainted, and that's what happened. All you can do is give these players a break, fans. They are kids and deserve support. And stop calling for the coach's head and just wait it out another year. The team has improved in their first 2 games. I know that's kind of crazy to say, and I don't understand how they won't improve versus Chattanooga. So please stay patient. It takes more than just 1 season and 2 games to know if things are getting better, and they have a new coaching staff this year. Also, all the other second-year coaches right now aren't even doing good. So if Tennessee pulls the trigger first, that's a big fail. I mean, there's just so much blaming going around, and it's giving me a headache writing this. I have never taken this long on a video, and I'm sure this video is going to be my longest. And I started writing this on Saturday, and I finally finished it on Monday. Like, good grief. Tennessee fans should be ashamed of themselves. Go out there and support this team until the end of the season, then you can speculate and say whatever you want. It's obvious not many people want to coach there anyway. You decide to bail out, or they bail out. This should all be blamed starting from the top with the athletic directors and the boosters. It is a damn shame what has happened. I don't even know how to end this video. There are so many routes you can go down, so many names you can blame. But if any Tennessee player somehow sees this, you have to keep playing and know you guys are capable of doing great things. There could be something we all don't know about going on inside that football team and their athletic department. But all you can do is keep fighting and be a great teammate. Know that everyone in that locker room can change this. It's just going to take a team effort. You have to work with what you got and keep fighting. Tennessee has hit the biggest wake-up call they've ever had, and it's time to put up or shut up. Special things can happen there, and I'll be watching Tennessee like a hawk the rest of the season to find out which one it is. And as the great Garth Brooks said, "'Cause I've got friends in low places, where the whiskey drowns and the beer chases my blues away." Thanks for watching, and I'm going to take a nap, and I'm going to the bar.